Welcome everyone, and thanks so much for joining us today for this webinar presentation in which we're going to take you through the latest set of enhancements and upcoming changes to the Asgard platform. And of course, this is in the lead up to the new legislation taking effect that has flowed on from the Royal Commission recommendations on advice fees and client consent. My name is David Giltrap. I'm joined today by Kelly Beach. We're both part of BT's training and capability team, and it's a pleasure to be able to present this session for you. Thanks to the many of you who are perhaps backing up after attending our similar panorama webinars over the last couple of weeks. But of course, we're here today to focus on Asgard and how you'll collect advice fees and capture clients' consent using your AdvisorNet functionality. And I think that's a key point, because if you are using perhaps different platforms with your clients, the processes are very likely going to vary slightly from one provider to the next. And certainly in the early days of the new framework, while we all adapt to it, it's going to be important to know these subtle differences and how you can utilise your platform's functionality to suit the way that you like to operate. A lot to cover in this session today, and the aim is to go for a duration of no more than 45 minutes. And we'll also be requesting following the session if you do direct any questions to us, but we'll let you know how to do that. Without further delay, let's have a quick look at the agenda and what we'll be going through today. So we'll start off with a very quick background before overviewing the advice fee and client consent changes that we've made to Asgard. Then I'm going to hand over to Kelly, and she's going to walk you through a demonstration of the new screens, processes, reporting, and also scheduled communications relating to the changes and enhancements to AdviceNet and the Asgard product range. And we're also going to wrap up as well with your next steps and support points that you'll need. So look, this is by no means a technical session that we're looking at. We will be assuming you're already well across the legislation that has flowed from the Royal Commission recommendations, those being 2.1 and 3.3. However, if you do need a refresher or a recap, please do revisit the webinars and also podcasts that have been run by Brian Ashenden and BT's technical team. You can see in front of you there a link on screen as to where these can be viewed, and these really do provide a thorough consideration of the legislation, but importantly its interpretation and what it means for advisors and their business and their clients. If you haven't watched these yet, they are highly recommended. And also for this session, we also assume a baseline knowledge, I guess, of AdvisorNet and how to use it. If you do need any training or help with how to use AdvisorNet in your business or yourself, please do get in contact with your local BT or Asgard contact, and they can certainly assist with that. I guess it's worth reflecting on the background and I guess what has brought us here, and then to the enhancements and changes that we're considering today on Asgard as we move into this new advice fee framework. So you'll know that Asgard did go quite early in the market with client consent and advice fee changes, introducing this new functionality in December of last year. Now, that was at a time when the legislation had not been finalised. There was uncertainty around the newly introduced process, and it was paper-based. And when Asgard has almost always been online and electronic with e-forms, that was just a little bit different. So we know there's certainly been some issues along the way for you. We've taken your feedback during this period since last December, but the good news is that period has also provided us with time to listen to, not only listen to and respond to your feedback. So we've incorporated enhancements alongside changes that have been made to align with what has been fairly recent clarifying legislative and regulator measures. So to better support you through these changes to your business and the ways you interact with your clients around advice fees and now client consent, we've improved on the processes that we've introduced last December. So Kelly's going to walk you through these in just a moment, through these changes. but we have moved from the manual paper-based form to a more efficient online and pre-populated e-form solution that better aligns with your normal Asgard experience. We do have a flexible fee arrangements that you can use with your clients, offering you the opportunity to transition a PreRC fee arrangement, also set up a new ongoing fee arrangement for a client at account opening or for an existing account, and also to set up and apply a one-off advice fee for a client and their account as well. Now, a note here, Asgard will not have a separate fee structure built for fixed term arrangements for the compliance date of 1 July. However, we know that a lot of dealer groups advisors might be looking at fixed term contracts and the way in which they'll operate going forward. You can certainly achieve that with Asgard, instead enabling it via usage of the one-off fee functionality. The way that you would do this would be to either charge a one-off advice fee for the full amount, either upfront or in arrears, or you could choose to charge multiple one-off advice fees throughout the fixed term arrangement for your client. For example, that might be quarterly, biannually, monthly if you choose to. Just a few considerations if you do choose to operate fixed term contracts and would like to utilise the one-off fee functionality to achieve that. I think firstly, you would need to use the offline form for that first point, rather than the e-form produced from AdviceNet. Second, you'd need to have this form probably outlined in your fixed term contract with your client. So i.e. something like this fee will be deducted in quarterly instalments, for example, of X dollars that will be deducted from your Asgard account, but listed as a one-off advice fee throughout. And the client's signature on the form also must be no older or no more than 12 months earlier than the processing date that it's submitted to be put onto the Asgard system. So for those of you who do intend to operate fixed term contracts, yes, you can achieve that on Asgard, as I've just outlined, using the one-off advice fee method, and that's great news. The final piece, I guess, is in terms of enhancements that we've improved reporting for you, both at the client level and also across your business level, utilising the advanced search. But I'll let Kelly walk you through that. And I think that's a good segue. What I'd like to pass over to my colleague, Kelly Beach now, who will take you through a demonstration of the enhancements, the changes, and as we're going along, just have a think about how these might be applying internally into your business and with your clients. So perhaps now over to you, Kel, to take them through the details.
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, everyone. So what changes are being introduced as part of the 13th of June 2021 release on AdviceNet? We'll be introducing an AdviceB Consent e-form for ongoing advice fees. This e-form pre-populates the client account details and the advice fee structure on the account. The e-form has been designed with online validation to vet the input. Now, we've increased the renewal period from 59 days to 119 days in line with the legislation. And when entering in the next anniversary date, the consent expiry date will automatically default to 119 days after the next anniversary date, providing a longer renewal period to obtain a new notice to continue charging the agreed fee. However, you do still have the functionality to shorten the consent expiry date should you need to. Now, we've created the enhanced viewing and reporting functionality where you're able to view the status of the next anniversary, the consent expiry and the termination date specific to a client's account via the account details screen. We've also enhanced the advanced search function so that you're able to obtain a whole of business view for a particular date range for the same dates I've just mentioned. Now, this functionality has been designed to support advisors with their renew requirements. If I refer you to the right-hand side of the screen, some important points to highlight are the process live date is the 13th of June 2021, ready for a compliance date of the 1st of June 2021. Now, this process will apply to ongoing advice fee arrangements and one-off fees. Now, for consistency, the fee consent process will also apply to superannuation, pension, and IDPS, including SMSF. I want to touch on the ASIC instruments 124 and 126, released on the 24th of March 2021, where changes were made to the draft ASIC guidelines to provide a more simplified approach, and we are making further changes to ensure we align the Asgard product to the ASIC instrument. With regard to 124, we'll be removing from the fee consent form the need to include information on the services the account holder is entitled to in exchange for charging an ongoing fee. We'll also be removing the warnings of benefits that may cease or reduce field for an ongoing fee as well. Now, regarding ASIC instrument 126, the services to be provided field will still be mandatory for non-ongoing fees such as one-off fees. This field will remain and this requires input. Now, I just want to demonstrate an example of setting up a new ongoing fee arrangement overlaying the Asgard implementation process with a sample start date of the 1st of August 2021. Within 30 days of the start date, the advisor must create a fee consent e-form, have the client sign and submit it, and then Asgard will have a 3-day SLA to validate the e-form at their end. The next anniversary date will then be set at the 1st of August 2022, where a 120-day renewal period commences from this date. The advisor will then need to provide the client with an FDS within the first 60 days of the renewal period, and a further 60 days to receive it back and submit the signed fee consent e-form, being by the 28th of November 2020. If this is not actioned following the 28th of November 2022, the consent will then expire. In this section of the presentation, we'll be demonstrating 3 common transactions. So for an existing account where you need to apply a fee consent status against their account prior to the 31st of May 2022 with no change in advice fees, or as referred to as a PreRC transition. A consideration for this scenario is some practices are incorporating this process into their annual review discussion or at review cycle where particular date ranges are set. We'll run through a new client where you're onboarding or transitioning a client between phases such as superannuation into pension and applying a fee consent status at application or for an ongoing fee arrangement. And we'll also run through applying a one-off fee to an existing client account should your practice be operating under a fixed term arrangement with your clients. Now, an important call out here is, before we begin, is all existing fees in the Asgard system will fall under the transitional arrangement and therefore will remain in place unless amended until the 31st of May 2022. Now, during this period, you will either be able to transfer an ongoing advice fee arrangement or an ongoing fee arrangement and move to facilitate the payment of a fixed term arrangement through a series of one-off advice fees. I want to firstly highlight each slide is earmarked so you can quickly track and reference each section of the presentation back to the relevant process that we're demonstrating. Okay, so we'll start the demonstration for a PreRC transitional client. So from the homepage of AdviceNet, for the client's account in question, you'll refer to the change account details under transacting, and then you'll click on the advice fee consent field, which will take you to the screen displayed. I'd like to firstly draw your attention to the red text box at the top of the screen, which will act as your input validation to support you with completing the form correctly. The next field under ongoing fee arrangements relates to the next anniversary date and the consent expiry date. The consent expiry date field will default automatically to 119 days from the next anniversary date. and these dates remain customisable. However, the legislation guidelines must be met when setting these dates. For example, the next anniversary date cannot be more than 12 months from when the form is signed, and the client's signature must be within 30 days from when you submit the signed e-form. And Asgard receives it for an ongoing fee arrangement. Now, if we move towards the bottom half of the screen, the ongoing advisor fee will pre-populate based on the current fee structure. Now, the next section is the advice fee estimate. You'll need to input the estimated ongoing fees for the next 12 months field, where you'll calculate the fees being charged over the next 12 months, excluding GST. Now, if you're charging a percentage-based fee, please calculate the percentage rate against the investment container value. For example, if you're charging 0.5% on the managed fund value and the cash value or both. Now, as per the ASIC instruments I mentioned earlier, the services to be provided for ongoing advisor fee arrangement section will automatically pre-populate with the text referencing refer to your advisor documents for the services provided. For the advice fee deck, where you are required to select who the advice fee will be paid to, so whether it's the advisor, the office, or the dealer group. This will automatically pre-populate the entity name, phone number, and email. Now, just to call out here is the entity email and phone number is an editable field. So if you wish to edit the email or the phone number, you're able to amend it. However, this will not amend the email in our backend databases. You will need to amend these details per our current process. Now, if you are uncertain as to which entity to select, please refer to your dealer group's compliance department, who will provide further guidance. Now, once you've read the important disclaimers, please agree to them by ticking the box, and then that brings us to the end of the form, and then you select finish. Now, you'll then be able to print the e-form ready for client signature. You can then proceed to exit out of the screen, and your work will be saved for you to refer back to at any stage under what am I working on in transaction tracking. Now, once the client signs the form, you'll then be able to refer to what am I working on field, where the saved e-form will be displayed awaiting submission. You'll then be brought back to the screen displayed where you'll click on the upload button to upload the signed e-form into the e-verification number on the top of the e-form, and then enter it into the field next to submit as per the current process. Now, I just want to also highlight the important information displayed on screen. In particular, only upload the signed advice fee consent form on Asgard for Asgard to validate, and not any other forms that may be accompanied, such as the account amendments, for example. Submit these transactions separately as you would normally, where straight-through processing would be applied. Now, once you've submitted the e-form through to CSD for processing, it will hold an awaiting validation status while CSD validate your request. Now, once CSD have completed this process, the account details screen will be updated to reflect the fee consent status. Now, I just want to provide you with a bit of a visual of the output of the form with the pre-populated content included. Continuing with the e-form, the AdviceB Consent section will display the services to be provided will contain the pre-populated text as I previously mentioned for an ongoing fee arrangement as per ASIC Instrument 124. Now, the client signature section is displayed at the bottom of the screen, which is where we'll ask you, where you will ask your client to sign and date. Now, whilst we're on the topic of signatures, for accounts that hold multiple signatories, all account holders must sign the fee consent form, with the exception of an account structure of either a trust or an SMSF with a corporate trustee. there must be a minimum of 2 to sign in this case. Now, moving into new applications, which also includes the AdviceB Consent section. So once you set your fee structure against the account, the AdviceB Client consent field on the right-hand side of the screen will pre-populate with the fee structure you've inputted. When you've completed all required sections of the application, you'll select Print Submit, and the application form will be one document and the AdviceB Consent form will print as a separate document. Now, during your client meeting, you'll have your client sign both the application form and the AdviceB Consent form. And following your client meeting, please submit your application as you would normally. And then you would refer to what am I working on and submit the signed AdviceB Consent form by uploading the e-form and keying in the verification number, as I previously mentioned. Now, from the 13th of June 2021, we'll also be releasing an updated version of the paper-based AdviceB Consent form, which will be a PDF editable version. Now, should you be operating under a fixed term structure, I'm now going to demonstrate how to apply a fee consent to a one-off fee on an existing client account. For this process, please use the paper-based AdviceB Consent form rather than an e-form version. You'll then need to refer to section form of the form, where you'll stipulate the agreed fee in section B. And stipulate the services to be provided for the one-off fee in section C displayed. You'll also need to pre-fill all other mandatory fields, such as the advice fee deck displayed, for example. Now, should you be charging multiple one-off fees throughout the fixed term contract duration, for example, quarterly or biannually, either upfront or arrears, you may want to create a series of these forms in the form of a batch, and then have your client sign them in one single signing ceremony, as they are valid for up to 12 months from the signature date. Then, as you need to charge the one-off fee, simply submit through to Asgard, which I'll demonstrate in a moment, one of these forms which will apply the consent until the fee is deducted. Now, the one-off fee will be charged only once per form submitted and is deducted in arrears as long as the account is funded. For example, if you submit a form in August to charge the one-off fee, we'll deduct the fee in the first week of September and pay it out to the fee recipient. Now, to submit the paper-based form, please upload the signed form via the document upload facility, which is displayed on screen. The form type you'll need to select from the drop-down box is the account amendment form. Now, let's move into our reporting functionality. So, also, as mentioned, we've made some updates in this space. So, as displayed on screen in the bottom two boxes, we are also updating the account details screen as an individual account level. So, displayed will be the next anniversary date, the consent expiry date, and if applicable, the termination date. And to produce a whole of view business snapshot, refer to the account section of AdviceNet. Click on the advanced search hyperlink to expand your reporting fields, and then click on the account options. That will then expand to the following view. As displayed on the bottom of the screen, you're able to input your date range of choice, which will then display clients that have a particular search criteria. Now, I must call out, however, please ensure you complete one date section at a time. For example, do not input the anniversary date and the consent expiry date in the one search field. Otherwise, this will display no results. Now, I want to move on to the important key dates. So on the weekend of the 12th and 13th, we'll be upgrading AdviceNet for the release on Monday morning, the 14th of June 2021. So I just want to highlight some key dates surrounding this activity leading up to the release. So up until the 4th of June 2021, the current process applies to the fee consent process. Between the 4th and the 11th of June, Asgard will commit to a best endeavours approach to validate all paper-based fee consent forms received. From the 14th of June, the new process will be available to submit the instructions we have demonstrated today. And advisors have up until the 30th of June to submit via AdviceNet using the current version of the fee consent form. Now, on the weekend of the 12th and the 13th, any outstanding e-forms will be invalidated due to the system upgrades that will occur over the weekend in preparation for the release. Therefore, if I could kindly ask you to submit all account amendments, applications, and change of account type e-forms that do not have an advice fee consent by 8 p.m. on the 11th of June 2021. Displayed on screen is a detailed communication timeline, which I'd like to spend a bit of time running through. This table is running from top down in chronological date order. This lists the past communications that have issued out versus communications still to be issued. Highlighted in red is the communications going out relating to the notifications of invalidation of e-forms, and flagging with our advisors what's about to occur. The white line entries relate to the release notifications leading up to the go live date, being the 14th of June 2021. Now, the channels confirm where these notifications will be posted, whether it's going to be email or whether it's going to be posted to a certain hub. Now, before I hand over to Dave to open up for questions, I want to highlight the model wrapped around this process that will be available to support our advisors and their support staff. So today's session has been recorded, and we'll post the link out to the thank you email that you'll receive shortly. Please, I urge you please to reach out to your local state representative to request a deep dive implementation session, which will be bespoke to your practice. Also, in the form of supporting documents, we'll have available process guides and FAQs that will be on the Advisor Hub for you to refer to at any time. Now, that concludes my session for today, and I'd like you to thank you for attending and making time for us. We really do appreciate it. So thank you, and please reach out at any time.